Brighton 0, Manchester United 2. I'm joined by Stephen Howson. We'll talk a little bit about this game, but I think we need to talk a little bit bigger picture because today was almost, did Brighton even care? Who knows? United won the game though, which is sort of important. So we'll start with that. 2 wins in a row now going into the cup final. 2 goals for Højlund off the bench in both of the last 2 games. What positives, if any, are you taking from those last couple of results before the FA Cup final next weekend?
It's hard work, this, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm taking that I saw Lisandro Martinez in a shirt on a pitch.
That's good.
Did we score when we got both centre halves on, by the way?
I think the second goal, was Varane and Martinez both playing. Yeah, I think so.
Was the first not as well?
I'm not sure. I can double check. I'll have a look now while we're talking. Let's assume that it is.
It's just as soon as we get not even proper personnel, because it was still a little bit iffy at the time. Bruno's come off and that as well. But as soon as we get that going, we score a couple of goals, and I just think it's very much a season of what might have been, because it's been bad. I saw someone say United have got the 5th best defence in the league. No, we've got the 5th best goals against in the league. Let's not conflate the two. Because we've got the 19th most shots conceded. They can't be the same.
No, they're certainly linked, aren't they? Those two stats. You can't take one without the other.
I mean, you can. It's impressive that we've had only the 5th amount of goals conceded, but we've had the 19th most, or the 2nd most, if you want to do it that way, shots conceded. So there's obviously what's that 14 team swing? Well, it's the fella in net. I guess he's been a not universally positive for the season, but I think he's a net positive for us as a club. Mm-hmm. And actually, there'll be people disagree with that in the comments, but I think he is. I don't know, man. I'm glad it's over.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like I'm not nervous for next week because I don't think I'd be nervous if it was 50-50, I'd be nervous. If I thought that it was we could fuck this up and not win. But we could fuck this up and get beat 6-0 next week. We're not. There's so many things. The stars and the planets have to align for us to win next week that there's no pressure on us. So there's no nerves on us. Does that feel the same for you?
A little bit. I'm not dreading it as much as I thought I would, but I'm also not as excited for it as I thought I would, and that is probably because of that limited expectation. I do think we've got a chance of winning. I think we've probably got a 25-75 chance, as in 25 for us, 75 for City chance of winning. Maybe that's been slightly generous, but I think we've got a chance. But I don't think, come on, we'll go down there and we'll do these. I don't feel fully, let's say fully, we don't even feel remotely confident in saying that. But I do think being there and cup finals, they are a weird game. They're a different game to any other time when you play City. It's not, they aren't usually quite as good. They usually allow games to be a little bit closer in finals than you would think. And, it's a derby.
Joe, can I just refer you to last year's final?
Well, yeah, but last year's final ended 2-1. It wasn't a million miles away. I know that they scored immediately, which basically lost the game, and they could control it from there. But if we'd have scored another goal, it's extra time and penalties. So, whilst I think we'll probably struggle to win, is a nice way of putting it, I think that there's reason to think, we could win. And let's just look back at the season a little bit, because obviously we've got the FA Cup to come, and we'll talk about that loads this week. But looking back at the season as a whole, 8th place. United's worst ever finish in the Premier League, I think. Well, it is. 14 losses, like you said, the 2nd most shots conceded of anyone in the league. Only 55 goals scored, 57 goals scored, I think, by the end of the season. I think there's multiple teams in the bottom half of the league who'd scored more goals than us. I think, it's creatively, attacking-wise, terrible. The ability to stop shots, terrible. Are there any positives you're taking from this season, or is it just a I'm glad it's done situation?
Probably Mainoo.
Yeah.
The emergence of at least, I think, I could say £100 million, but let's be realistic here. He's at least £50 million midfielder, isn't it?
Yeah, easily.
Out of nowhere. So that's a positive. Finally seeing Ahmad getting some regular games in a United shirt and looking like a United player is a positive. I think Rasmus Højlund is a positive. I think he started off slowly. He hasn't had any support from his team, really. You know, he's created another goal for himself, basically, again today, because no fucker passes to him. He is the least passed to striker, or at least at one point was, and I don't really feel like it's changed in the league. You know, he's done all right with the scraps he's been working on, so he's a positive. Outside of that, not really, man.
Yeah.
Bruno's created the most chances in the Premier League, and if that doesn't show the absolute over-reliance on Bruno Fernandes, because if he's created the most chances and our striker gets no chances, it shows that literally nobody else in the team is creating anything for anybody else. And it does feel like actually a lot of his chances have gone to Rashford, to Garnacho, to Anthony, and been fucking winged over the bar. But he is creating chances. So if we can get the rest of the team to start doing that for Højlund, we'll start winning some games.
Yeah, it's interesting that, like you said, no one else in our squad. I think Sancho has it in him innately, but obviously he's not in the squad. I think Ahmad does a little bit. I don't think he'd be in our squad either. No, I think Ahmad has it a little bit, but we don't know what level it's at. But this ability, or not the ability, the innate want to find other people in the final third. Rashford, when he gets around the box, in a dream world, he's knocking it past someone and having a shot. Garnacho, I think, is the same. Anthony is the same. Like, Højlund, obviously, is a striker, and he's not a sort of, build-up play kind of striker. He's doing the same thing. Bruno's the only one in most weeks starting 11 who is looking for someone else in the final third. That is a bit of a concern, isn't it? Just in general, obviously Ten Hag is the one who's faced a lot of the criticism, and rightly so, but also the manager is the sort of the figurehead and the face of the team. Do you think that this season will be enough? Because we've been back and forth on this, and it's 2 more games down the line. Do you think this season will be enough for him to keep his job? Just your opinion. I know we don't know, but what do you think? Now the season has ended, Premier League, will he be here next season?
Yeah, I feel like he will, because of the noises he's making, because of the sort of patience and hasn't worked out and for anyone else at this club, sort of things that Ineos have come out and said, or Jim Radcliffe has come out and said, because he's the one that talks realistically, isn't it? I feel that, yeah. I feel like the Southgate and Potter links have shit me up, but I don't think that Southgate would be appointed this summer. Even if they was going to appoint him, I don't think it's absolutely mental to try and do that while he's at the Euros. I mean, it might be just be mental, full stop, but it's even more mental to appoint this fuckwit in the midst of a Euros campaign. When you've got a manager there that knows what's going on with the team, that has shown that he's able to win stuff with the team, that and be successful, and then just bin him off and bring in some Herbert. The noises Ten Hag's making makes me feel like someone's had a word in his ear. Ditto Neville, Keane and Rooney. There seems to be almost a bit of a front feeling like it's emerging in terms of like, here's what's happening. So my gut instinct is he will be here next year. I put it this way, I think if I saw that he was fired tomorrow or next Sunday, I would be quite surprised. Not shocked, I don't think, but I'd be like, yeah. I don't see that coming. I think he'll be here in the summer. I think he'll be here next season. There was some talk, I think, yesterday that he's put it on their toes and said, right, well, if you're fucking backing me, give me another contract then. Ballsy.
That is ballsy. It's some real front foot stuff, that, isn't it? I think it's been so shit that in a way you should give me another contract to prove to me that you're not going to sack me. That is really great logic. I love that. It's been so bad. You really need to give me a new contract here.
That's fucking nuts. I might have waited till we win one of the pre-season trophies or something. Just something a little bit giddier.
Yeah.
Wait till they give you a couple of £100 million worth of signings and then be like, right then, contract time for old Narico, yeah?
Exactly. I've mocked one up. You feel free to have a look over it, but this is what I would do. 10 years, 50 million a year.
Obviously, I've only just doubled inflation wage rise, nothing crazy.
Yeah, it rises and then, like I said, doubles with inflation, of course, as you'd expect. So obviously, like you said, we are in this position where it feels like he could well be here next season. I think a lot of people, if you polled them, not if they want him to be here, but if they think he will, I think more than 50% would say yes now. Just as a sort of, obviously, there's many ways to approach a season, but just to get your overall feelings on it, if you had to rate this season, Premier League only, out of 10, how would you rate it?
Am I rating it in relation to previous Manchester United seasons or in terms of what entire possibilities exist, including doing a Leeds?
I think you're rating it in comparison to what you thought it would be, in comparison to what they could have achieved with the circumstances they had, and a little bit of United gone by as well. But, comparing this to 99 was never going to be a fair comparison. But, where you thought we'd be at the start of the season to what we've seen in reality, how would you rate the season?
Yeah, and that's obviously, not apportioning blame to anything, whether that's injuries, management, the takeover situation. I don't think has helped matters. The outside influences of Anthony's issue, Greenwood's issue, Sancho's issue, all of those things. Plus Ronaldo's issue was this season, wasn't it?
No, that was last season. It was World Cup, wasn't it? Yeah, World Cup. So that was last season.
Wow. Have I slept since then?
Time flies.
I feel like I've not.
Time flies when you're not winning football matches.
Could you give it a 5 out of 10? I think that'd be being well fucking generous, wouldn't it?
I think that's mediocre. I think that would be very, very kind, personally.
So, can you give it a 1 out of 10? A 1 out of 10 has to have been that, or a 0 out of 10 is like we got relegated and we've been banned because we tried to run some offshore poker game in Malta or something. And you're like, why are we even involved in that? So that's your 0.
Yeah.
So you're looking at between 1 and 4. 4, it might be a 4 if we win the FA Cup, right? So that leaves us between 1 and 3.
Yeah.
And honestly, I can't go higher than a 2.
And I'm laughing, but I can't disagree with you. It's about as bad as I could have realistically imagined within the framework of a non-disaster Premier League season. Do you know what I mean? Other than COVID or, something tremendous happening, this season couldn't really have been much worse, could it? It's literally our worst ever finish as a Premier League.
But you've done it in a Breville and you've put some dips on the side.
Yeah, exactly. You got a little bit. So
even though I'm eating shit here, but I can see that there's been some effort and flair made with it.
Yeah, and you got a lovely shit dipping sauce as well to dip it into. Yeah, still a 2 out of 10. Right, that's going to be all, Steve. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to be positive about, but all of that could change in 1 week.
Yeah, I got a question for you. Where's the?
Oh yeah, go on. Where's De Zerbi? Well, people are saying Juventus, aren't they? But I'm just following the crowd on that. I don't know. Juventus would make sense. Seems like Bayern's been ruled out. United could be an option if Ten Hag gets sacked. But I think
is that an option at United? So why did he announce yesterday?
I don't know.
And is Dan Ashworth's link anything in anything?
Well, I people always say this. Oh, you know Southgate, you know De Zerbi, but they know Mourinho, they know this. He's the richest man in the world in England. Sorry, the owner. Dan Ashworth has been working in British sport for 10 years. Jason Wilcox won the league in the Premier League 30 years ago and has been in football ever since. They know everyone. So they know Southgate, they know De Zerbi.
It's about hiring them. Dan Ashworth has hired De Zerbi, hasn't he?
That's true. I know there's a difference there. Yeah, I think he did hire him. I do think it could make a difference, but I would hope he knows the difference between a manager for one level and a manager for another level. I think that it would be very unlikely for De Zerbi to come to United. Personally,
probably wins the league with Juventus, though. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, probably does. Yeah. Just finally, because we can't chat and not get your thoughts on it. City 4 in a row. How much does that hurt? How much are you bothered? How much does the charges come into it? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, fuck.
Really? because United are nowhere near, or because of the charge? Like, what? How come you don't give a fuck? Because obviously you don't want City to do well.
I said, like, the charges that City have been levelled with, they're not performance-enhancing drugs. They're not the match fixing. They're not the bribery of referees that you've seen elsewhere in other European sport. In which case, it's really, really bad cheating. Realistically, their cheating, if they're found guilty, it's like blag accounting at the end of the day. It's not really the same level of cheating as some of the other stuff that we've seen, or even some of the accusations around other teams. Never mind. But I find it hard to give a fuck about them. Like, have they won those leagues? Yeah, they have. It doesn't, like, it almost, like, there was fucking huge swathes of empty seats in their stadium for the trophy lift. They're fucking pony, Joe. Like, it hurts so much more if it's the Scousers. It would actually have hurt so much. Like, why did we not want Arsenal to win the league? Like, they're up against the evil empire. They're going to stop Pep doing 4 in a row. But because they've got fans and they're fucking Herberts, like, you don't want them to win the league because you don't want them to be happy. Name me any City fans. And hilariously, the only one I know is fucking Boovy, whose whole Manchester City's whole thing is that we are the team that Mancunians support. Yeah, as a Mancunian, I know nobody that supports Manchester City. My father-in-law supports Manchester City, and hilariously, when they got taken over, he was like, I can't be arsed with this. That's not who City are. And he went and watched, like, fucking New Mills instead of Celtic and stuff. That's what he did. Like, so, who do I know that's a City fan? Nobody. They don't affect me. I see more Arsenal fans in Manchester than I do fucking City fans. I don't care.
I think we'll end it there. Cheers very much, Steve. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back, obviously, tomorrow with the podcast. We'll be back with all the build-up to the game at the weekend, where, Steve, if you go in, you will be seeing a few City fans, I've got to tell you that much. But maybe they'll be localised to Wembley and you can avoid it. Oh, he's not going. There you go. Perfect. You can avoid it. Right, thank you very much for joining us. We will be back, obviously, tomorrow with all the build-up to the game at the weekend. We'll see you in a bit.